Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinama Sankirtan ki, Sri Kartika Vrata ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Oh Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Giri Govardhan ki jai. Hare Krishna, everybody. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari Raja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Janabala Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaurnitai ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Sri Harinama Sankirtanam ki Jai. Brihat Pradanga ki Jai. Go to Goloka campaign ki Jai. If you don't know what that is, it's not some, let's say, what do you call it? Something to do with, our goal to go to Goloka. It certainly is. But it's a specific campaign which is inaugurated by Vaisheshika Prabhu and others in the senior Vaishnavas who are very enthusiastic to see Srila Prabhupada's books distributed by one and all. This is not a monopoly. The distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books is everyone's opportunity. It is the greatest opportunity. Practically, we may not be able to do other activities like deity worship, farming, opening restaurants, even opening temples. We may not even be able to go to a temple. All these activities are so wonderful in serving Krishna, but everyone can distribute books, practically speaking, some way or another. It's a great privilege, a great opportunity. So this Go to Goloka is this campaign now from October, November, December to distribute as many of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gitas as we can all over the world. The target, I think, is 3 million everywhere, all over the world. Combined effort to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books in this particular time with the Christmas book marathon, Prabhupada book marathon coming up shortly, and the Gita Jayanti, I think is early this year, early in December sometime. A great opportunity to be a part of this, I say, special concession. Go back to Goloka, go to Goloka. Taking everyone back to Goloka Vrindavan. And this is the method. This is Prabhupada's given us this method of achieving this objective goal by giving this knowledge of the path. The goal also explains Goloka Vrindavan, Srimad Bhagavatam, and giving us the path to back to Godhead. So please do join us, if you are all able, to be an instrument as Arjuna was an instrument on the battle of Kurukshetra, an instrument for Krishna's will, to become an instrument for Prabhupada's will, and take this little opportunity to distribute books to a friend, to a family member, to a neighbor, to somebody you don't know on the street, a program online, somehow or another share this transcendental knowledge with others. And the best way is to give them Prabhupada's association and the association. All the great acharyas contained in these literatures, the great personalities who appear in these literatures, past, present, and future, etc. Anyway, we got that. Transcendental book distribution ki jai. Go Premanandi. All glories to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Greg. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sanyavari Vastachade Shatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Hare Krishna. So we are now in Zurich in Switzerland, and we're here for a few days, and then we go to Italy for a few days, and then back to South France for a few days before we return back to New Mayapur to prepare for the Prabhupada Book Marathon. So we haven't been to Italy actually as since we joined the Hare Krishna movement. I've never been to Italy, so this is the first time in about, I think the last time I was in Italy was in 1963, it was. I remember because I looked it up yesterday. I was mentioning it when I was last there was an earthquake where we were. So I looked it up to see what year it was. It was 1963. Oh no, I tell a lie. I did go back again, hitchhiked through the north of Italy in 1969. So that was the last time we were in Italy. So 53 years visiting devotees in one part of Italy for a few days. But wherever we are, we have our technology to bring us, you could say, a little closer together in different parts of the world to try to put Krishna in the center of our lives. Vrindavan, to put Krishna, the holy name. I would say we're all chanting in Australia, and you're chanting in New Zealand, and someone's chanting in Malaysia, and Fiji, and Africa, and India, and Europe, America, Russia, everywhere. Chanting, we're all chanting the same mantra, we're offering to the same Lord, we're hearing the same teachings, we're practicing the same process. I would say this way we're all packed up together. It appears physically that we're separated, but really we're not. We're all together in the same family, in the same team. When more and more we put Krishna in the center of our lives, and more we put the instructions of the Lord's representative in the center of our lives, the more we'll feel we're together, protected. So today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and I think it's the second chapter. We'll continue where we left off last week. So today, the verse number, Masika, 23, is it? Is it 23 or 2?
I think it's 23, Maj.
23. Okay, if you could, it's a long verse, and we've kind of moved on a little bit here. We have moved on from the series of verses which are very, let's say, prominent verses in this first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, foundational verses in the practice of devotional service, but every verse is essential. So we're moving on now to text 23, if you can share screen. Sattvam vajastamo iti prakrite gunasthayar yukta parak purusha eka ihasyatate dityare hari virinchi hareti sangya shreyamsi tatrakahu sattvatanor ninam syuhu. And it's a very long verse, and it's quite a long purport also. So what we'll do is we will go on to the translation, not go on the word for word. The translation. So Sutta Goswami is continuing to speak in response to the sages of Naimisharanya for the sake of the welfare of all living entities. And this verse today, the transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. And purport. But Lord Sri Krishna should be rendered devotional service, as explained above, is confirmed by this statement. Lord Sri Krishna and all of his plenary parts are Vishnu Tattva, or the Lordship of Godhead. From Sri Krishna, the next manifestation is Baladev. From Baladev is Sankarshan. From Sankarshan is Narayan. From Narayan, there is the second Sankarshan. And from this Sankarshan, the Vishnu Purusha avatars. The Vishnu, or the deity of the quality of goodness in the material world, is the Purusha avatar known as Shirodakshayi Vishnu, or Paramatma. Brahma is the deity of Rajas, passion, and Shiva of ignorance. They are the three departmental heads of the three qualities of this material world. Creation is made possible by the goodness of Vishnu, and when it requires to be destroyed, Lord Shiva does it by the Tandava Nritya, boom boom, this drum which he beats. The materialists and the foolish human beings worship Brahma and Shiva respectively, but the pure transcendentalists worship the form of goodness, Vishnu, in his various forms. Vishnu is manifested by his millions and billions of integrated forms and separated forms. The integrated forms are called Godhead, and the separated forms are called the living entities, or the jivas. Both the jiva and Godhead have their original spiritual forms. Jivas are sometimes subjected to the control of material energy, but the Vishnu forms are always controllers of this energy. When Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in the material world, he comes to deliver the conditioned living beings who are under the material energy. Such living beings appear in the material world with intentions of being lords, and thus they become entrapped by the three modes of nature. As such, the living entities have to change their material coverings for undergoing different terms of imprisonment. The prison house of the material world is created by Brahma, under instructions of the personality of Godhead, and at the conclusion of a kalpa, the whole thing is destroyed by Shiva. But as far as maintenance of the prison house is concerned, it is done by Vishnu. As much as the state prison house is maintained by the state, anyone therefore who wishes to get out of the prison house of material existence, which is full of miseries like repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age, must please Lord Vishnu for such liberation. Lord Vishnu is worshipped by devotional service only, and if anyone has to continue prison life in the material world, excuse me. He may ask for relative facilities for temporary relief from the different demigods like Lord Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Varuna. No demigod, however, can release the imprisoned living being from the conditioned life of material existence. This can be done only by Vishnu. Therefore, the ultimate benefit may be derived from Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. You can, having heard in the previous verses practically speaking, the process of devotional service, we've heard about the nature of the absolute truth, the method to approach the absolute truth, the results of approaching the absolute truth. One becomes freed of the effects of passion and ignorance, lust and greed, anger, and so on, and comes to the mode of goodness. And as we hear in today's verse, although the empowerment of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva is himself, you could say, a category unto himself, Shiva Tattva, specific role in relationship to the Lord, in relationship to Sankarshan. But Lord Brahma and other demigods are empowered by the Lord. That position or that capacity to create the universe, the Visharga, the secondary creator, Lord Brahma, is none other than the potent expansion of the Lord. It's the Lord's potency which expands into his capacity to perform such a duty. Now, that potency of the Lord, to a certain degree, is imbued in every living entity. Every living entity has a certain capacity, however small that living entity appears to be. Nonetheless, it has some form of capacity to perform. It may be breathing, it may be walking or crawling or something, or just existing. But that existence potency or that existence ability is there in the Lord, and it is injected or imbued within the living entity. So every living entity, in one sense, as this verse says, is a form of Vivinanksha, the Shvangsha, that's Krishna himself, the full Lord expands in various ways, and one of his expansions is the Jiva Tattva, internal energy, marginal energy, external. So the marginal energy also has some of these qualities in minute proportion, many of the qualities of God, but in very, very minute proportion. And they're manifested accordingly, just like light is revealed according to the situation. If you have dark curtains, you can't see much light at all. If the curtains are very light, then the light comes through quite a lot. And if you have no curtains, it comes through more or less fully. So it's not so much the light or the truth, it's more or less the method of the coverings of the living entity, or the consciousness of the living entity, how covered or how it's covered. And some living entities, although they are by nature imbued with these qualities of Godhead in a minute proportion, are not very manifested. They're very, very covered. They're very dull. In the human life, we get a mixture of coverings. Some people are more in the mode of goodness, which is not so covered. Those in the mode of ignorance are very, very covered, deeply in ignorance. There's practically no light. They're like a child, an embryo in the womb or something. There's practically no light and no sign, no way that this message of Krishna consciousness is easily penetrating into their dark consciousness. They're very covered. So, generally speaking, of course, Lord Shiva is known as the Lord of that particular mode of nature, a mode of ignorance, which shrouds the living entity. But still, because he's an expansion part of the Supreme Lord, a specific partial expansion, you could say, of the Lord, with a specific nature and capacity, etc. Still, if one serves him or follows him, then there can be some definite benefits from that if it's done properly. Lord Brahma is a little different. Generally speaking, Lord Brahma is a jiva, a living entity, marginal. marginal entities generally, but he's empowered with a much greater capacity than normal. And that empowerment is an expansion of the Lord. The post is a post. Lord Shiva in this material world may also be seen in this regards, as we've been hearing here a little bit, like a post, but it's in one sense is not. It's an expansion of Lord Shiva to perform this particular role. He has his position beyond and above the manifested material world. Whereas Lord Brahma is not. That's simply a post within the material world. It has no other function in the spiritual realm. As such, Lord Shiva is protector of the Dham. He has his own abode, Kailash, certain type of, let's say, service is rendered there. It's kind of in between, sometimes it's said, matter and spirit. But Lord Brahma doesn't have such a position. His position is, he can be Acharya, he's a Parama Guru in our line, Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. But it's a post. It's a post. It's not a person. Lord Shiva is a person taking the role of in the post of that person also. In this world, he expands, of course, in various ruder forms to perform the various functions which he has to perform in this world on behalf of the Lord, of Lord Vishnu. But Lord Brahma is a specific post simply for material creation. There's no creation in the spiritual world. Everything is eternally existent. The spiritual world, things come into being and they're also destroyed at a certain point of time. Living entity is not. Living entity comes from Vishnu. He's a Tatastha Shakti. He's marginal, sometimes covered over by the material energy. And Lord Brahma is a post, and some qualified living entity takes that post, just like we have president, we have prime minister, minister, this thing, that thing. They are people taking that role, but the post, that's not their name. It's not like the person is always the prime minister. Maybe there for some time as the prime minister. So Brahma is a post for creative purposes, and different living entities take that position as and when the qualification is there, and then they're empowered by the Supreme Lord to perform that particular act of creation. So that's one thing. But the main point Prabhupada emphasizes in this particular verse is above and beyond these Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the Purusha avatars of Vishnu in his various forms, Karna Dakshai, Garbhadakshai, and Shiva Dakshai, Vishnu, who also are in relationship with the creation. Interesting to note how all the incarnations, expansions, etc., do come through Baladev. Lord Baladev is the source of them. That's the Lord's expansion for that real purpose of expanding the realm of the Lord's, let's say, majesty, in the case of Vaikuntha, in the case of the material world, expanding the facilities for the living entities. Prabhupada uses the word prison in this world to create the prison and the various controllers of the prison, and so on. So residences there for the living entities who are inimical towards the Lord, the Brahma Jyoti, plane of impersonal Brahman. There's also there's the sun rays of the sun are there. Brahma Jyoti is like the sun rays of the Lord's effulgence. And living entities are completely full of living entities existing in that plane of spiritual existence. And like many Vaikuntha planets, countless Vaikuntha planets, beyond and above, floating in that Brahman, but beyond the material nature, with countless living entities serving the Lord in various ways of reverence, worshipping in so many ways. And then other planes of relationship are there in Ayodhya and Nilachal, and various other planes are there. Devotees rendering various forms of service to the Lord until one comes to the spiritual abode of Krishna himself, Krishna Loka. And within Krishna Loka, there are so many different planes also of rasa, relationship, and even form relationship. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a portion of Golok Shvetadvip where the Lord is also performing his eternal pastimes in the mood of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. But primarily the pastimes of Krishna are unlimited, unending, and unabode. He's the source of everything. He's the source of Brahma and Vishnu. He's the source of the material energy. He's the source of the spiritual. He's the source of Balaram. Everything's expanded from him. You can say, although there's no creation, he is nonetheless the source. As the sun is the source of the rays of the sun, but they both existed more or less simultaneously. You can't really trace that out, but they're coexisting. So the Lord in his internal abode is coexisting. It's not that there was nothing and then some another nothing decided to have something. No, they all eternally exist. This is a very hard concept for those who are conditioned to relativity in this world. The spiritual realm is eternal. So everything about it is eternal. And Krishna's pastimes, everything eternal. Eternally going on, and they're full of bliss, of course. Well, Krishna is a real maintainer because the life and soul of all living entities. We exist only because of him. We continue to exist only because of him. We may desire or not desire, but because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything's going on. But he employs or he delegates, he empowers other living entities to perform, especially in relationship to the material creation, to perform the various or necessary activities within the material creation, to facilitate the purpose of this material creation, which is not just to punish the errant souls or to facilitate their aspiration to try to enjoy themselves, but it's primarily existing to give living entities a chance to renovate or reawaken their relationship with Godhead or with Krishna. But most people don't know this, and most people are not interested in this. Therefore, there's a nice verse in Artopasamam Sakshat Bhakti Yogadhoksha, that the unwanted attachments, material contaminations, etc., which cover the living entity are superfluous. They're nothing really to do with it. Unfortunately, we identify ourselves with these various coverings in the form of bodies and minds and so on, and things around us. We identify with this, and thus we become implicated, entangled in the illusion of the material world. It's called Maya, and that which is not. We identify ourselves with that which is not. It's called Maya. But that's not the purpose of the material world, just to facilitate that mentality. So we just become further and further entangled in the material world by identifying, but rather to change that. Now, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, not to say they cannot, and the demigods, some of them may also be great, but their role is not exactly that. To some extent, but not entirely. Their main role is really just to facilitate, to even supply the needs of those within this material universe, the conditioned souls. Whereas Lord Vishnu, who's ultimately the supplier, he's the maintainer, he's the one keeping everything going behind everything. But his real purpose ultimately is maintenance of goodness, to bring people or conditioned souls to goodness, and he alone can give deliverance from this entanglement of the material world. He alone, Mukunda, he is the giver of liberation. No one else can ultimately give that. Lord Shiva can take one to Shiva Lok. Lord Brahma in the role of course, of the pure devotee, that's something else. But in his role as the administrator, universal creator, that's not his role. That's not his role. He has another role, spiritual, that's no problem. But in terms of the actual duty of Brahma, his role is simply in the mood of creation and keeping everything going along in that way. With Lord Vishnu's mode of goodness, maintaining. Everything we do has this characteristic. We build something, and that requires passion. And we destroy it maybe at a certain point in time. That's the mode of ignorance. But to maintain it, we can take, for instance, a relationship between a man and a woman. There may be other ways of looking at it, no doubt, but in one sense, they're coming together as passion, attraction, desire. They come together. And we see in many cases now, separation is also very prominent in mode of ignorance. But to maintain that relationship does take goodness, takes the mode of goodness. So that really means turning to Lord Vishnu, turning towards Krishna, and everything else comes into perspective, comes into balance. Anyway, this is within the material realm, and Prabhupada is emphasizing here that the worship of Lord Vishnu, the worship of Lord Krishna alone can satisfy. And we hear that from the previous verses, only unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord, Yayatma Supasidati, Ahoitikia Apatiyataya Yatma Supasidati. Only that unalloyed, unmotivated devotion to Vishnu or Krishna can satisfy the self. Everything else is only a temporary arrangement. All the benedictions of the demigods, all the statements of the Vedic literatures almost exclusively lead to only a temporary situation. Whereas Srimad Bhagavatam is the subject matter to help us to understand our eternal nature, a plane where we never have to return to this material world, as Krishna says. One who understands its transcendental nature, my appearance and activities does not have to take birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. Now, this is the purpose of the prison house, and those serious about wanting to get out should turn to the proprietor, not to just one of the agents within the prison. They may be a nice guy or not a nice guy, but that won't release one. They may put in a good word for us, but they of themselves cannot release us from this Maya. Maya is very strong. Very hard to overcome. But those who surrender unto me can cross beyond it easily, Krishna says. Surrender to the Lord. We have to know who to surrender to. Who to surrender to. And sometimes people surrender to Lord Vishnu. Not so much to Lord Brahma, we don't hear much about that. Especially to Lord Shiva. In one sense, okay. But in another sense, not, because the tendency is that one stays at that station, one doesn't really appreciate or understand the nature of Krishna, immersion as one, or whatever it may be, or misunderstanding what it means to surrender to Lord Vishnu, and one ends up, to Lord Shiva, one ends up imitating instead of following. I've probably given an example many times how Lord Shiva swallowed the poison which was produced from the churning of the milk ocean by the demons and demigods, and a lot of poison produced, and Lord Shiva himself personally swallowed that poison, but some of the poisons were drops were spilling out of his hand as he swallowed them. And thus we have all kinds of poisonous creatures in this world today. As a result of that, poisonous plants, insects, animals, and so on and so forth. So that also represents the taking of toxics, or intoxications, also comes in that way. And we try to imitate Lord Shiva by taking intoxication. Well, he swallowed an ocean of poison, and to take a little bit of poison in the form of some kind of drug or alcohol or something. His imitation is a very tiny, tiny little thing, proportionate to our size. But we don't imitate. If one imitates Lord Shiva, then that is condemned. But if one follows Lord Shiva's path of devotion, he is also all Vaishnavan and Tatar Shambhu. He is considered to be the greatest Vaishnava also. We follow his path. How does that mean? Well, there are certain, you have to see, but in various Puranas and statements, Lord Shiva has given so many instructions, even in the worship of Lord Krishna. So many prayers that even in the Bhagavatam we find Lord Shiva glorifying Krishna. We follow his path. He's also a Acharya. He's also one of the 12 Mahajans, great souls who can teach the path of religion, the path of perfection. But Lord Vishnu alone is the ultimate objective, is the ultimate goal, and he is the Sarvasya Prabhuvumatak Sarvam Prabhatate. He's a source of matter, a source of spirit, source of everything. The wise person will take shelter of him because all one's desires will be fulfilled. It doesn't mean they're going to be fulfilled in the sense of I got my Rolex watch, I got my BMW, I got my husband, my wife, my this, my that. No, but what is it that we're searching for? What is the jiva searching for? The jiva is searching for that self-content, that happiness within the heart. He wants to be happy because that's the quality of Godhead. He's full of bliss. So the living entity is also searching for that experience because it's constitutional to be blissful. It is not constitutional to be in anxiety, stress, fear, etc. These are not constitutional emotions or experiences. But in the material world, they are. The spiritual world, for instance, is sat, eternal. The material world is asat. The spiritual world is full of knowledge, and the material world is full of ignorance. People everywhere. Ignorance is affecting everything. Spiritual world is eternal. Material world is not. The spiritual world is blissful. Material world is a mixed reflection of happiness and distress. Like that, it's asat, whereas the spiritual world is sat. It's nirananda, whereas the spiritual world is ananda. And it's achit, whereas the spiritual world is chit, full of cognizance, full of knowledge. There's no ignorance there. Everyone's fully aware of their situation in terms of, they're not thinking of being something else. People don't know who they are in this material world to speak of, how to enjoy. They have no idea how to enjoy. They're trying various methods they're inventing to try to enjoy. But the real pleasure is when we're with Krishna, when we connect with Krishna. And Lord Brahma, if we approach him in a devotional mood, will try to connect us with Krishna. Ultimately, Lord Shiva, the same thing. So their roles are very great, but the main thing is to come to Krishna, to surrender to Krishna. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, I covered a lot of it, I think. Yeah. Anyway, we pretty much briefly covered most of the points of this purport as far as I can see. Okay, well, we have 2 more classes today here in Zurich. We have one already, and now this one, 2 more coming up. So we had a late night program last night, and we may have to catch up on a few things today. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Most welcome. There's one question has come, or 2. Vrindavan Dham. Lord Brahma is both mentioned as a pure devotee of Lord Vishnu and an administrator of the material world. He is said to not be able to give liberation because he doesn't have it. However, he has residence in Varshan and has had darshan of the Lord who gives immediate liberation and pure attraction for him. Not give it in the sense that he naturally is Charya, Guru, sometimes in relation to the material world. He may not seem to be always acting in that understanding. He appeared to be an illusion when he came to or saw the pastimes in Vrindavan of Krishna stealing, or any of the pastimes, Krishna having picnics on the bank of Jamuna, killing a Gasura and so on, quite astonishing. And it appears that Lord Brahma misunderstood and wanted to, a little bit overwhelmed with pride. So we see these things, but there's more to it than that, much more. But that's his role when he's in an administrative role. He's even a great devotee of the Lord, may sometimes play the role of Bhaktivinoda Thakur did as a chief magistrate. And when he's playing that role, he has to behave like a chief magistrate. He can behave, maybe to perform it more expertly, but basically he has to act as a chief magistrate in that role. A parent may act in a certain role with a child. We play our role. Now, as you say, in another situation, he has residence in Barshan, he had residence here and there. He's in Brahma Samhita, the beautiful prayers which were adored by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, emanated from Lord Brahma, and there are many, many other, and if you think carefully, it's different situations. Now, what we're hearing here too, don't forget, is that Brahma is a post. It's a post. It's not that that is his eternal name, his eternal business. That's a post that he may perform. We see this sometimes in the material world, that great devotees take various posts in this world, as Brahma, sometimes as Surya, sun god as Yamaraj. We see Yamaraj, for instance, was, he had to do his duty as Yamaraj. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. And he took the position of Vidura in order to perform devotional service in a more direct form, and not sort of indirect by doing what the Lord wants you to do in the material world, conditional service in this world, but in a more direct way as a preacher, Vidura as a preacher of the glories of the Lord. So sometimes they do that also. They sometimes expand into this world to perform particular duties to facilitate the Lord's pastimes, to facilitate the mission of the Lord, the business of the Lord in this world, in the prison warder in this world, so to speak. So they may do things like that. But at the same time, when the situation arises, they can also act in a different way. As a man may act in a different way at home than he does in the court, or when he's driving his car, or when he's playing sport, or worshipping, or whatever the person does. They may behave differently. So in the case of devotional service, Lord Brahma, when that comes too, will also give all good directions to the living entities, how to progress spiritually, not just to facilitate the living entities' desires and karmas within this world, but how to advance spiritually. You can do that for sure. But as far as giving liberation is concerned, the prison warder may be very good, giving good advice to the prisoners. He may even to the point where he recommends them, please release this prisoner, but he doesn't have the power in of himself to release the prisoner. He may know all that needs to be known, but he doesn't have that ability. That is alone. This is Krishna's energy. We are Krishna's energy. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything is his energy. And ultimately, it depends wholly and solely on the will of the Lord. But his will is, say, influenced, considerably influenced, if not entirely influenced, by the will of the pure devotees, by the will of his representatives, no matter who they are, by their will, by their sincere desire, because they're very dear to the most dear to the Lord, more dear than his very self. By their will, Krishna feels he's naturally he's obligated to fulfill the will of his pure devotees because they have no material desires. They're not asking for anything for themselves. They just desire for Krishna's pleasure that all the living entities should be delivered and go back to Godhead. So like Prabhupada in his Makune Bhagavat Dharma is praying to the Lord, please, my Lord, only by your will can they be delivered. But it is my will that you please deliver them. He can't do it on his own. But by the will of the pure devotee is that which influences the will of Krishna. This is the point. So they are not necessarily able to give like that. Can't do it because they're not the ultimate controller. This energy doesn't belong to them. They're just acting on behalf of the Lord. But by their great will, this devotee is so wonderful, my dear Lord. Please, please deliver him. Oh, then, please take them back to God. So the appeal of the pure devotees is which touches the Lord's heart. And that's the trigger for the Lord's will to deliver the living entity. And so surely such great devotees are eternally residing. They can do both. And don't forget, there's not just one Brahma, there's countless universes, and every, every cycle, every breath of another Brahma is coming out. There are countless Brahmas. So sometimes, I'm not saying it is, but sometimes sometimes these, let's say, statements, pastimes, this thing, that thing, are from different millenniums with different personalities. Same with Indra. Indra is a post also. All these positions of demigods are post, occupied by certain persons for a period of time to perform a particular duty, even though they may be pure devotees or not pure devotees, but the post is to be performed accordingly. You have to play that role as a judge. A judge may be a very kind, pious person, devotional, and it may be his own family member, but usually don't do that. But if it's his own family member, they still judge them according to the particular law. And the nature of the Madhyamadikari also, they have to discriminate somehow or another. Even if they are on the highest platform of Uttama, they still have to discriminate for the sake of the purpose of preaching Krishna consciousness. So that's a little bit anyway about Lord Brahma and many of these great devotees. Next one. As Lord Brahma is a jiva tattva, living entity who is prone to fall into illusion, how can we have confidence in his treatise, Brahma Samhita? How can we be reassured he was not an illusion when speaking? Good one. Well, then we'd have to say Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an illusion also, because he relished reading this, at least the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. I haven't read the other chapters, so I can't comment. But this chapter, he absolutely relished. Daily, practically speaking, this Krishna Karnamrita, Brahma Samhita, the scriptures were very, very dear to Lord Chaitanya. And all the Vaishnavas, Prabhupada would sing this every day when the daily greetings take place. Govindam Hari Purusham. Prabhupada himself used to recite and sing these prayers. When we do puja, we recite these prayers. We mean everybody is indeed, including Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in illusion. Or would be, and that's the whole process is an illusion. So if you don't accept these prayers, then we have to accept the whole process. We have to reject the whole process, basically, because these prayers are very tantamount in the practice of devotional service, to the extent where Prabhupada said we should learn these prayers like Brahma Samhita and others, in order so that they're always reverberating in our consciousness. Chintamani Prakadasatma Sukalpa Vriksha. We can also find that all these particular verses, they are completely corroborated or confirmed by the Vaishnava scriptures, at least the conclusions of the Brahma Samhita are so succinct and deep, but they're all confirmed in the Brahma, in the Bhagavatam, in other scriptures like that. They're not just another form of philosophy or another opinion. They're just furthering or deepening the understanding of the nature of Godhead. Therefore, Vaishnava accept these as authorized prayers. When Brahma goes into illusion, just like some of Krishna's eternal associates, and as we say, don't forget, Brahma is not like one person only, eternally, and that's it. There are countless universes with Brahmas in, and of course, in this particular, you could say, daytime or lifetime, whatever you want to call it. There's only one Brahma, or one person taking that role. He lives a long time, but in eternity, that isn't a very long time. It's just a flick of nothing. Countless Brahmas are there. Countless Brahmas. At different degrees, they may be more advanced or less advanced. Just like Jai and Vijay, they are eternal associates of the Lord, but they appear to be demons in this material. They're playing a role on behalf of the Lord to fulfill the Lord's desires. They play roles. Even Nanda and Yasoda, they expand themselves as Drona and Dara into this world to teach the process of developing the mood of Vatsalya Bhav. And then when Lord Nanda and Yasoda appear, they merge back into their original forms. But that doesn't mean the original form doesn't exist. Vishwanath Chakravarti describes how Jai and Vijay continue as Jai and Vijay, even when they fell down as Hiranyakashipu. It wasn't like there was a hole there. No, they continued. It was the eternal spiritual world. They expanded themselves as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Prabhupada says, don't think anyone who thinks that this happens in every millennium is an illusion. It's only happened once for the sake of the Lord's particular pastime there. And other times when it appears Hiranyakashipu and so they're actually demons. They're not ordinary. They're all, what's it, ordinary? They're like jivas who attain that position. So sometimes the demigods are eternal associates, sometimes they're jivas. Sometimes the Lord himself takes that role. It's a post, and the post has to be performed. The duty has to be performed. Like it Olympic, you have to do, Arjuna didn't want to fight, but he had to do it. It was his duty to do that. He had to perform that duty. So sometimes they fall down, appear to fall down by the arrangement of the Lord's energies. If they're not pure devotees, it may be their own will. And if they're pure devotees, there's two ways of falling down. One by the arrangement of the Lord, one is by her own, you could say, will. In this case, the arrangement of the Lord, the word is Lord Brahma, and so on and so forth. Purposeful, to show. Lord Brahma's first thoughts were, let me do something now which will prove to one and all that Krishna alone is the supreme amongst everyone. Not me, not Shiva, no other demigod. He is the supreme. So let me do something which will help prove this. That was his initial thought. Then he went to the illusion of thinking he could challenge Krishna. He could show off in front of Krishna. So different reasons are there. From our perspective, it was a warning about becoming false pride and thinking we are, great or something like that. Krishna smashes it, as he smashed the pride of Indra, he smashed the pride of Brahma, even Lord Shiva, in one sense. To show that, that ultimately he's the supreme one, the source of everything, a worshipable personality, the ultimate resort, etc., etc. Next one. What does complete surrender to Sri Krishna mean? Well, let me know when you realize it. Huh? Oh, there's another one before that. Yes. 1, 2, 3. What is the ultimate position? Okay, let's go back. Ultimate position. What is the ultimate position? Just let me drink some apple juice. It's a very wonderful, deep topic, subject matter. How everything emanating from Krishna. Everything has its purpose. It's not a random kind of thing, we may pass air or burp or something. It's not like that. Everything about Krishna is perfect. And all the various expansions, both jiva and otherwise, the internal expansions, external, everything is perfect. Om Purnam Madak Purnamidam Purnak Purnamadachite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishite. We sometimes chant this verse from Ishopanishad. Everything is perfect, complete in itself. So everything emanating from the complete is also perfect. So everything that emanates from Krishna is perfect. Perfect. And Krishna is the ultimate. So in one sense, when everything is playing its part according to its position, according to what Krishna's will is, for that particular emanation, that's the ultimate position. It may appear different. Now, one devotee may say that, no, and we see this all the time. Lord Chaitanya, when he was in Sri Rangam, he had long, you can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, discussions with Venkata on the relative, absolute, if you want to call it relative, but absolute position of Lord worship in Aishwarya Bhav and not in Madhurya Bhav. The worship of Lakshmi Narayan, the worship of Radha Krishna, but for Venkata, the worship of Lakshmi Narayan is ultimate. You see, that's his nature. And of course, we're not in a position to analyze our own situation probably at this stage. But in the absolute sense, yes. There will be nobody left in Vaikuntha. You could say, well, is that a loss? Well, Krishna's expanded in that way. There's another aspect of his personality that he hasn't expanded. Doesn't need to. He could expand in a way that living entities only have a particular rasa or only in a particular mood. But he hasn't. It's a variety, is a spice of life. So he's expanding these various ways for various reasons of his own, and consequently, he's never alone. So there are countless living entities who are also expansions of the Lord. They may be Vibhinanxa or servitor expansions in that particular mood, and it would be wrong for them to not serve the Lord in that particular mood. That's their nature, Hanuman's nature. He can't become a gopi. It would be wrong. It's totally ludicrous. His nature that's his perfection. That's his ultimate perfection. Is to serve Krishna, serve Ramchandra in that role, to serve Lord Narayan in that particular role, to serve Lord Nrsimhadev in that particular role. It's their ultimate perfection. But that would depend on an individual living entity. And what that is, we're created, or let's say we have, creation infers beginning. We have a particular nature. Now, the unique thing is, we do hear, of course, that the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come with a specific aspect, let's say, of giving this ultimate perfection, that through the Sankirtan movement, all fruits can come. All fruit, this word fowl was mentioned this morning, all fruits can come from this tree of devotional service, whatever they are. If the living entity does desire, for whatever, in constitutional or whatever it may be, reason to taste apples when it's a pear tree, he will have apples. When you go before Lord Jagannath, different devotees, they have a different vision of Godhead, and the Lord Jagannath reciprocates with that particular devotee. Many stories of them. So similarly, in the spiritual realm or in the process of devotional service, the Lord reciprocates. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So if one is, by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what are we to speak about the details of this? But by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nothing is impossible. Transformation can even take place. Although even there we see in the example of the brother of Rupa and Sanatana, Anupam, he could change his bhav, his eternal associate of Lord Ram. He knew, but also knew that the relationship of Madhurya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, in Goloka Vrindavan, Sakya Ras, is higher in terms of its intensity of loving reciprocation. It's sweeter, much more imbued with various, characteristics of loving exchange, etc., more pleasing in one sense. But if you give an example, for instance, if you're in the court, if the wife comes into the court and starts having a loving relationship with her husband, it would be completely inappropriate. It would almost be against the law. She'd probably be escorted out of the court, even though it's the husband of the chief justice or whatever he is, the magistrate, whatever he is. It's inappropriate. It doesn't fit. And there's a place for every type of mood, of every type of relationship. And when that situation, there's no conscious involvement, even in Goloka Vrindavan. I mean, when the coward boys are in the forest enjoying coward pastimes or eternal pastimes, but they're not, they're completely absorbed. There's no Mother Yasoda there. She doesn't have that mood. Even the gopis are not there. It's just not even, it doesn't come in. It's like it's a different plane of pastime going on, and that's perfect. We're living into the thing, oh God, why did he end up as a coward boy when I could have been a gopi? I just said the wrong thing at the wrong time. It's not like that at all. It's complete, perfect and complete. Everything perfect and complete. So when we say ultimate means everything is perfectly connected to Krishna's will. All varieties of rasas, all varieties of service, although there appears to be higher and lower, and indeed we could say there are in terms of the intensity, but all of them are important to Krishna. The Lord Chaitanya put more emphasis on the Madhurya Ras, no doubt about that. Some of our acharyas or acharyas may have put more emphasis on other rasas. Ballabha Sampradaya more on the Vatsalya Bhav, and some others on the Sakya Bhav, others mostly on the Dasya Bhav, and some on the Shanta Bhav. But majority rasa contains everything that's contained within all the other rasas. So therefore, in that sense, it's the most complete. Complete, more complete, and most complete. But they're all perfect and they're all ultimate for those devotees in that particular mood, in that particular rasa. Next one. Read that. How to avoid offenses in the Dham. The devotee just on his way to the Dham right now. What should be our attitude when visiting Vrindavan and other holy places? Wonderful meditation on Sri Vrindavan Dham. Take the dust. Respect everyone. Serve the devotees, serve the cows. Keep chanting. Keep chanting, chanting, chanting. Try to this mood of humility. Especially I find serving the cows, they're dhammas, any living entity. So be in this mood, how it can serve. We're very careful with our materialistic conditioning to judge. Don't judge. I mean, you have to use a little common sense, obviously, but don't judge people according to how we see them materially. Be very cautious to see it as Krishna's mercy to help us see everything as Krishna's mercy, to help us to see our own anarthas. When we see anarthas or something, and it's like Prabhupada said to Kirtananda in 67. Kirtananda Swami at that time, he said to Prabhupada, why is everything dirty? Why is Vrindavan? He had this material vision. Vrindavan would be like, heavenly planet or something. Everything just perfect, materially. But he didn't see it like that. Dirt, scrawny dogs, barking at you, and dust everywhere, and hot, and people pestering you for donations. And it just doesn't look what we conceived of as Vrindavan, broken buildings. And Prabhupada said, you're seeing it like dirty, like this, because your heart is dirty. So see it, everything like that. It's Krishna. We can't see it. Sri Krishna Namati. We can't see the transcendental realm with our material senses. But if we have this humble, this respectful attitude, then, and to understand that everything Krishna's arranging, whatever we can see, or whatever we do experience, is to help purify our heart. Now, on the other side, or not on the other side, but on another perspective, keep careful association with our imperfect vision, our sentimental approaches, etc., etc. We may not get the right understanding, the right perspective. So try to keep as good association as we can. That's why Srila Prabhupada created the Krishna Bharam temple. It's not that there aren't pure devotees here and there, much more than I am, that's for sure. No limits there. But the Krishna Bharam temple was to give us that protection. Because in there, the emphasis is on the deity. The emphasis is to the Sangha, to hear and chant about Krishna. Prabhupada gave us an embassy. It's like an embassy to the spiritual realm. Within the, whatever we have, understanding of the presence of Vrindavan Dham, but within that there's this embassy which even persons who are not eligible are able to take shelter in that embassy and understand or become eligible to enter into the Dham. So as much as you can, stick with devotees who are under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. And there may be many others, we're not monopoly, but this is our safe zone, spiritually, especially when in the Dham, to keep under the protection. We're supposed to serve in Vrindavan under the protection, under the shelter of an eternal associate of Vrindavan. So we serve under Prabhupada's shelter. And that way you'll be less likely to get carried away by the tendency to commit offenses, to misunderstand, and so on, for materialistic tendencies to become prominent. Less likely. and as much kirtan as you can, as much chanting as you can, and as much service as we can. We may, especially in the beginning, we're not necessarily on the platform where we can sit and just sit and absorb ourselves in bhajan. We can do kirtan, we can serve, we can hear, and so on like this. We go with devotees on parikrama. Better to go with devotees. We go on our own tendencies, this, whatever, anything possible can happen. More shelter, more protection, more safe for the neophyte devotee to stay in the presence of those who are a little more advanced and to at least develop an appreciation for Vrindavan beyond and above our mundane perspective or perception or our dreams of what Vrindavan should be, but to enter into what is really Vrindavan. And that comes up, I think, in the next question as well. Let me see. What does complete surrender mean? The attitude, Prabhupada one time said about attitude, we can also hear. When we first went to Vrindavan, as we were entering, we read the prayers of Akrura. Prabhupada said it should be the attitude also of a devotee when they enter Vrindavan. So you can read that too. What does complete surrender to Krishna? Well, in one sense, it's an easy question to answer. It means just reviving our being in our constitutional position. That's all. Simple as that. It's not like some kind of application of behavior. It's realizing our actual nature. That's surrender. When we accept our actual nature. Right now, we're trying to establish a false nature according to our karma and condition in this world. When we accept it's like Arjuna accepted his actual nature to serve the will of Krishna. Surrender. Giving up his conditioned perspective of fighting or not fighting and reasons why or not to do it. But he surrendered, whatever you want me to do, Krishna. So that's the beginning of our constitutional relationship, you could say. Whatever you want me to do. But whatever angle we look at it, because that can be discussed also by those who are more qualified. But the position of the living entity, when the hand plays its part, is perfect. When it tries to imitate the foot, it is not perfect. It plays its part. So when the living entity plays its part properly, in an orchestra, when you play your part properly, perfect. If you don't, it's a mess. I see when it's cooperation there with the owner of the body or with the conductor of the orchestra, you get harmony, you get perfection. So similarly, the living entity, when playing our part in relationship with Krishna, we're learning to do that in the material world. So when we play our part here in the practicing stage, that's preparing us in the constitutional stage, play our proper part in relationship with Krishna for that which we're meant, that which is what Krishna's will. So this is to be, let's say, existing simply for the pleasure of Krishna, as we're meant to be. So when your hand acts according to a hand, you're happy. When it doesn't and it rejects whatever the command we give the hand, we're not in a happy state. If we say pick up the spoon, the hand says stuff it. I'm not going to pick up the spoon. Then that's not going to satisfy us. There's some problem there. Maybe you've got some disease or something. So we're in a disease condition. So learning this process of playing our part, that's all. It's not so, that's surrender, accepting our part. It's not some kind of forced kind of activity or a numerical achievement. It may be related, but it's not itself necessary at all surrender. It may be for another objective goal. We have some false ego or whatever it may be. But to let go of that and to act according to our real ego is surrender. Let's see. Didn't know. Who's this? No, it's great. That's great. Thank you for that. It's the same question again. How can we tell if fall down or offense is due to our own tendencies or influence from others or influence of the three modes of past life karma? We're already fallen. when we talk about fall down, we're, in one sense, we're already fallen. And when we have this mentality that we are fallen, then you can't really fall. But if you think you're not fallen, then the danger of fall comes in. Practical side of it, it's not due to the influence of the three modes of nature exactly. They're instruments. You don't blame a knife for when you cut yourself with a knife, as far as you shouldn't do anyway. Damn that knife. The knife cut me, right? I'm going to destroy this knife. But that's not very intelligent. That's a misunderstanding of what really is going on. The knife didn't cut us. We used the knife, and for whatever reason, we made a mistake and we got cut by the knife. But we're responsible for it, not the knife. See, the three modes of nature, past life karma. Okay, well, they're acting out, you could say, our karma. But fall down is, when we're talking of fall down, we're already fallen in the material world. That's another thing. It's not due to karma. We become implicated. Maybe it looks like we're more fallen, but we're fallen in this world by desire. It's not by karma. It's not by, you go to the court, damn that magistrate, he sentenced me to prison. I'll get my revenge on him. No. The judge is just accordingly reciprocating what you've done. And why you've done it? Because you have some desire to do it. And that may be influenced, of course, in the material world by one's past activity. But it ultimately goes to the soul, to the living entity being responsible for the situation, where we are responsible for our own situation, not somebody else. There may be so many other persons come in, and because we met them, we thought we did this. But why did we meet them in the first place? Oh, it's my past karma, but why have you got your karma like that in the first, beyond that? It ultimately goes back to the living entity. There's no point blaming karma, this lifetime or previous lifetimes. It's our own conscious desire, will, that needs to be changed. Everything else will fall into place. Now, that doesn't mean, therefore, all karmas will then adjust and you'll suddenly find yourself fixed in a mode of goodness with no problems, completely peaceful. That's external. Internally, we accept tenu kampam susamikshamam bonjana evatmikutam. But whatever situation we find ourselves in, whether it's directly due to karma or the arrangement of the Lord, whatever it may be, the devotee sees beyond that. He understands you are very merciful. This is a situation which is due to me, whether it's from karma or whatever. I deserve more than this. You are very merciful, and the devotee takes shelter of Krishna. This is the change that's required. Instead of trying to just analyze the reasons for this and the reason, we become very much implicated in most cases, an imperfect endeavor. Imperfect. Because who are we to be able to analyze all these things? Even Lord Brahma, even great personalities, find it difficult to understand the workings of karma, the workings of this world, although they themselves are participating in the production of it, the maintenance of it. It's actually coming from Krishna. And who can understand the mind of Krishna? So this may be a reflection. We're in the reflection. Do you blame a reflection when you look in the mirror and you see a pimple on your mouth, on your face? You see your eyes all crinkled down like this. Damn this mirror, and you smash the mirror. Okay, gone. Can't see it anymore. Fantastic. No more pimples. No, they're still there. You just can't see them, that's all. They're not like that. It's the pimples here, not on the mirror. It's just a reflection. So the reflections we see in this material world are reflections of ultimately the spiritual world, but we're seeing them perverted because of our own perverted nature. So we have to change our consciousness, not everything around us. How we see, Bhaktisiddhanta said, we have to change how we see things, not what we see. The environment may help us to do that, and it should do. That's why human society is arranged to help facilitate that change, but it's not dependent upon the environment. The environment is to facilitate, help facilitate it. So we don't, karma, all these things are external. What's the other one you mentioned? Tendencies due to influence from others, but it's all due to the will of the Lord. Is guiding everyone. We meet with certain persons to give us opportunities to advance or to become further entangled. We have to take responsibility for those choices. But the devotee, one who's a little bit more mature than we are, acts in such a way to help us not to make choices which further entangle us or cause us to fall away from devotional service if we're practicing devotion. They always try to help. So the help of a Vaishnavas, is essential in this regard, to protect us from more likelihood of falling down from the practice of devotion. So important is association of devotees is our shelter. This is our shelter. They engage us in service. They engage us in chanting and hearing. They help us to avoid the mind dragging us away through maybe by preaching or by their loving association, etc. Try to help us not to be the intelligence not to be controlled by the mind. At their stage, these are kind of like relevant things. For a pure devotee, it doesn't mean anything. But for a conditioned soul, yes. Oh, my mind's overcoming my intelligence. And I'm feeling like I've got to go, I can't take this anymore. And the devotee comes along, what's up, Prabhu? You don't look like you look a little bit disturbed. Are you okay? Oh, no. My mind, and I don't, wow, go on and on. And the devotee tries to help us. So the association of devotees is very important. When you associate with persons who are not interested in devotion, so if they will either reawaken this doubt in your heart, or they'll help to further that doubt in such a way that we'll become sometimes convinced, yes, I was cheated, or I was crazy, or these people, whatever. You go on and on like this. And you go back to Maya for some time. But it's not caused by that. They're just facilitating. It's like if someone's born in a particular family, it's not by chance. We tend to blame our parents, blame this. They've got their problems and they've got what they've got because of what they've done and what they desire. And we've got what we've got because of what we've done and what we desire. And we're born in a certain family which has, the right karma to bring up our tendencies, our desires due to our past business and previous lifetimes. And it comes up in their association. It's already there. It just comes to the surface. Like churning the milk ocean. It's already there. It just comes up by a certain mixture. It comes out. So like that. So the real thing is our own perspective, our own perception, our own consciousness. That's what really counts. But to try to change that, everything else, nothing else then is let's say, going to overcome the consciousness at all. But when our consciousness is still very weak, very fragile, then definitely we need strong association, protection in different ways, reminding regularly, strong sadhana. Otherwise, it's easy to get carried away because of our lifetimes of conditioning and the association of the world around us. And sometimes even the name of devotees mislead us and bring us into the mood of criticizing, into the mood of fault finding, into the mood of rejection, of authority. So many different things crop up in our hearts. New age stuff, all sorts of things become kind of overcoating pure devotion. And thus we become boom, 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 further and further away in the objective goal which we started with. We're not here to accommodate our conditioning. We're here to change it, not to accommodate it. Sometimes we're not here to justify our fallen condition. We're here to get free of our fallen condition, which is not a condition externally, it's an internal way of looking at things, which causes it to remain. Stop looking at them. Stop blaming others. Stop seeing, this is a result of this, that, and the other, because that will keep us in this mood of independence, in this mood of a conditional mood. We'll always be looking for an answer materially. The only answer is within. That we've forgotten Krishna, that we're still seeing ourselves as the enjoyer, we're still seeing the world around us as mine or somewhere I'm from, or I do enjoy it, or something or another, should be adjusted. All these are signs of conditional perspective or perception. Needs to be changed. Takes time. Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. We're going to finish there now because we do have a few more classes coming up today, I believe. And we thank you very much once again for your wonderful association. 2 or 3 days left of Kartik and Kartels, Kartik, Kartels. So take advantage of the last 2 or 3 days. They're a very wonderful opportunity for everyone, and including devotees, although devotees may be fully engaged every day, still there's extra special mercy in these days. These singing the Damodar Astakam, worshipping Shishi. When we sing Radha Damodar or Yasoda Damodar, both pastimes exist, but that mood, the mood of pure unalloyed devotion, which is developed, expressed in various ways in these Damodar Astakam prayers, which are, according to our acharyas, are really, really important to sing and try to enter into the mood of these. Together we sing together, entering into the mood of Damodar Astakam. Well, it would have been nice to have finished with Damodar Astakam, actually. And that's quite a big ordeal. That would take us a long time. We could sing it all together. If you put it on the screen, we don't have to repeat, we'll sing it together. Put it on the screen. Damodar Astakam. Namamishwar, Namamishwaram, Sat Kirtandarupam, Lasat Kundaram, Gokuli Vajanam. Namamishwaram, Satyat Anandarupam, Lasat Kundalam, Gokuli Vajanam. On the screen if we can, please. Yasoda Vigolukalatabhamanam Param Vishwam Matyam Tatoditya Gopa Yasoda Vigolukalatabhamanam Param Vishwam Matyam Tatoditya Gopa Udantam Mohornitra Yogmam Hijantam Taramboja Yugmena Satam Kanetam Udanta Mohor Netra Mam Hijantam Yugmena Satam Kanetam Muhushvasta Kampa Tire Kampa Kanta Vitagravam Damodaram Bhaktivaram Muhushvastakanta, Virekakakanta, Vitagaivam Damodaram, Vitidriksalayivaya Rananta Kunde, Pragosham Nimajantam Akyatayam, Vitidriksalayivaya Ananta Kunde, Pragosham Nimajantam Akyapayam Kariyeshitageshu Bhaktaditatma Puna Prema Tatam Shakavritti Vandam Kariyeshitageshu Bhaktaditatma Puna Prema Tatam Shakavritti Arum Deva Moktam Namakavadim Vam Gachanyam Vineham Varesha Rakivam Deva Moktam Namakavadim Vam Gachanyam Vineham Varesha Rakivam Hiram Deva Purnata Gopala Bala Sadame Manasya Vadastam Kinam Dakeva Purnata Gopala Bala Sadame Manasya Vadastam Itam Lim Kamboja Madhyata Nila Vitam Kuntalaya Sigara Sastapotya Idam Lim Kamboja Samursamita Bimba Rakadaram Shamsilam Lakshalabhai. Who has come become Bimbarakadaram Manasavarakamalam Lakshalabhai. Namo Deva Damodaranatha Vishnu Pratira Prabodhuka Jalabhimasam Narantha Vishnu Pratira Prabodhuka Jalabhimasam Vipaditi Visyati Diyambhatana Ihanisha Mamaga Mega Prema Bhaktim Sakamekayatcha Nurutega Ome Sitamekale Namaste Pidame Purati Pidame Kariyodagaya Savistapadame Pidame Namo Radhikaya Radhiyapriyaye Namo Radhikaya Radhiyapriyaye Namo Radhikaya Radhiyapriyaye Radhe Namo Nantandilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Nantandilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namanathalilaya Devaya Tubhyam. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hari Bo, Angane Pranaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, 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 Radhe. Radha, Radha, Radha. Jaya Radha, 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 Radhe. Radha, Radha, Radhe. Translation. Come on. Where's the translation? Here it comes. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence. There's something missing there. The whole thing's not on the screen, Masika. Knowledge, yeah, they're getting better. It's the form of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro. There's a lot of it missing on the screen, isn't there? We're trying to get it all on the screen. Getting smaller and smaller, though. To and fro. Oh boy, I think we'll have to get the book out here. It's going to be very difficult to get it all on the screen. I can see that. It's going to get so small we won't be able to see it. Krishna is smaller than the smallest, but we're not able to see him. Bring me the book. I've got the book. Is Vasika not? Oh, he's gone. Okay, I have no idea where it is. Anyway, we'll do our best. I haven't memorized the translation, I'm afraid. What to do? And where to find the song? I could get one, but I can't direct anyone else to get it because Mananda just left the room. He knows where it is, but he's not with us. Okay, well, sorry, we can't go through the translation if we don't have it. So you have to read it yourself, but there's very deep understandings there in the translation. Different modes of devotion are there. We may be starting again. Oh, here we are. We've got it. Thank you. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge and bliss. We're trying to keep it stable. Whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokul, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yasoda, who was being caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Can you imagine anyone running at greater speed than the Lord? It's her devotion that's so ever accelerating, intense devotion. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound, not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. Just meditate on this. This is so purifying. Whatever our position is, it's just so purifying to just meditate on this mood of devotional love. And just see how Krishna is reciprocating like an ordinary child, or like a friend or a lover with his devotees, so that they also can relish the sweetness of that relationship. By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokul in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered. This is today's verse, similar thing. Only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy, and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar, hundreds and hundreds of times. Interesting how Prabhupada lived in the Radha Damodar temple. I was empowered by Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami, Kaviraj Goswami, and even Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj has a Pushpa Samadhi in that temple. There were many other great devotees also. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Balagopal in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use to me of any other boon besides that? Or this. Dhruva, we just heard the story of Dhruva Maharaj this morning. O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair, tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yasoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you, O Damodar. O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. Whatever level we're on, please, be pleased that I can move forward. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes. O Lord Damodar, just as the two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvara, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation. Prema bhakti. O Lord Damodar, I first will offer my obeisances to the beautifully, brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances unto you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. Nantalila, referring to all the various pastimes of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Damodarastakam ki jai. So 3 days maybe left. Take advantage of these days. Hear the translation and try to be more Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. Hari 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 Bo. Jai Prabhu.
Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj. Haribol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Gurudev.
Hari Bol, Hare
Hari Bol,
Krishna
Maharaj Ji, Hari
Maharaj
Bol,
Ji,
Hari
Hare
Bol,
Krishna,
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol, Hari Bol.